To start off, it looks like the Dodgers are going to be signing another pitcher. The Dodgers and James Paxton are going to agree to a one-year, $11 million deal. Paxton in 2023 had a .450 ERA, a 1.3 WHIP, and a 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings over 96 innings pitched. So due to Paxton's injuries, he didn't pitch the same in 2023 as he did in his 2017 or 2019 campaign, but he still pitches pretty decently. So it definitely will be worth it for the Dodgers to have Paxton pitch, because the contract is not going to be for a long time. It's only that 1 year like I mentioned, and so Paxton will be able to pitch for his $11 million worth. The Dodgers can't afford another $300 million contract, but they can for sure afford $11 million contract, especially since it's going towards a 4, 5, or 6 guy in the rotation. James Paxton on most teams would be a number 3 starter in the rotation, but just with the Dodgers and how stacked up their rotation is, he's most likely going to be on the lower end of the rotation. But Paxton is 35 and he has good enough experience to where he will have a successful season in 2024. And if he's lucky enough, he might even get a World Series run. I haven't found anything about the Dodgers odds of the World Series from today specifically, but 5 days ago the Dodgers had plus 350 odds of winning the World Series, by far the best odds in the majors. But overall, the Dodgers are going to have a really good 2024 regardless of their World Season odds. Our next news is Aroldis Chapman signing a 1 year $10.5 million deal with the Pirates. This one was a little bit shocking because a lot of people, including me, thought that Chapman was going to be going to the Mets, but at least now Chapman's going to be able to help out the Pirates, as the Pirates are going to be one of the youngest teams in MLB this year. So veteran Chapman at 35 years old will be able to help out the Pirates, who only had 76 wins last season. They'll have Chapman consistently closing out games, which might bump up the win total a little bit more. Before we get into the Cody Bellinger update, I want to discuss the American League closer situation and just go into what it means for the Astros. The biggest thing I saw is with the Josh Hader contract, Ryan Pressly is no longer a closer. Pressly is easily good enough to be a closer on 99% of teams, so he would be a really good setup man, or he would be a good trade option. I'm not saying Pressly is a better pitcher than Hader or he deserves the job or anything like that. I'm just saying that Pressly is a really good pitcher. So I think in some way or another, the Astros will lose Pressly at the end of the day, either by trade or they won't re-sign him, because some team is going to want that 3.58 ERA and 31 saves. Unless the Astros just want the best 8th and 9th innings, he's a little bit too effective to be a setup man. The Astros could just run with it and be lights out for the 8th and 9th innings, but just it all depends on what the Astros choose. Speaking of closers, it's time to touch on the situation with the Angels and Robert Stevenson. You may have not heard of him yet. Stevenson isn't a closer yet, only gained 1 save in 2023. Stevenson signed a 3-year $33 million contract with the Angels, and I can kind of see it being more of a setup man position with the Angels, or moving into the closer position eventually. When he pitched for the Rays in 2023, he had a 2.35 ERA, a 14.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, a 0.68 WHIP over 38.1 innings pitched. But the Angels still have their last year's closer, Carlos Estevez, so if he doesn't perform or just moves out of the closer spot in some way, I can see Stevenson moving into that spot. There could be some master plan by the Angels to trade their current closer, just something to move him out of the way, or they could just want a really good setup man. I'm not trying to discount the setup role in pitching. I just think some pitchers have enough potential to be a closer on a team rather than be in the setup spot. Now for the update on Cody Bellinger. Apparently the Cubs are the front runner for Cody Bellinger, but his asking price has to come down. I would say it's possible for Cody Bellinger's asking price to come down, as what I'm trying to say is it's in the Cubs' favor to sign a contract just with the lack of competition. Over to some Detroit news. Casey Mitts and the Tigers agreed to avoid arbitration and sign a 1 year $830,000 deal. The reason the deal was on the lower end was because Casey Mitts had Tommy John surgery and did not pitch in 2023. It's been a slower recovery for the 26-year-old, but I think he'll make a bounce back here in 2024. Once he gets up and running, I think he'll be one of the Tigers' best pitchers in 2024, 2025, and so on. For example, when he was healthy in 2021, he had 3.71 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP over 150.1 innings. So decent numbers, not league leading by any means, but I believe there's a healthy future for Casey Mitts. Matt Chapman's offseason has been relatively quiet so far, but since players like Josh Hader are slowly getting signed, it should start to speed up. The Giants are under budget so far for their 2024 season compared to their 2023 salary, so it makes signing a big player for 2024 a viable option. The Giants may still have their third baseman JD Davis, but they still can make some room. Davis batted .248 with 18 home runs, but he's not a 4-time Gold Glover like Chapman is, so the Giants can move JD Davis around and get both Davis and Chapman in the lineup, as they both hit relatively similar, but Chapman is better defensively. But the reason I think the Giants are in the running is going back to that main salary point I mentioned earlier. The Giants' salary is over $30 million less than what it was last year so far, so that logic doesn't necessarily apply to just Matt Chapman, but if they wanted to get the other players in general, they could afford them. but Matt Chapman would be a great fit for the Giants as they can afford him, they can put him in the lineup, and just would be overall a great suit. Let's talk about how Aaron Judge might be moving to left field. The Yankees organization has already explained how Juan Soto will play in right field, and Aaron Judge will spend time in center field, sometime in left field, and then sometime designated hitting, but it will probably be more time in left field than we initially thought. Plus, the Yankees have Trent Grisham now, who's primarily a center fielder, and defensively, it makes more sense to have him out there in center field rather than Aaron Judge. But however you want to look at it, Aaron Judge is going to be in the lineup somehow, and he's not going to be in right field, so he's going to have to fit on the field somehow. In other contract news, Matt Carpenter signed a one-year contract with the Cardinals. It's a $740,000 contract, so it's a lot lower than some of his other contracts, but he's 38 now, so it's in the right range for what he's playing and what he's expected to do. I was honestly kind of surprised that Carpenter didn't retire after last season, after batting 176 with only 5 home runs. But apparently Carpenter has been working with Matt Holliday this offseason a lot just to try to get his form back into shape. Then the two finalists for teams for Adam Duvall are the Red Sox and Angels. It could go either way because on one side you have the Red Sox who are supposedly trying to cut costs and limit their salary, but then again the Red Sox are the team he played for last, so maybe they'll try to bring him back and give him a decent price. However, the Angels do give out decent contracts to players, so it probably will be them to end up signing him. But the Angels need all the help they can get this offseason as far as signing players like Stevenson and just other players in general, not just with losing Shohei Ohtani, but because last season was just not good overall for them. They went 73 and 89 overall in the season, and their wins were not pretty either. Basic answer of why the Angels aren't going to do good is because they lost Shohei Ohtani, but he's only one player, and there's a lot more that goes into making a good baseball team. The Angels were 5th in home runs in the MLB, then they were 15th in batting average, and then 23rd in win percentage. So obviously it's their pitching that's going to be the problem rather than their home runs or even their batting average for that case. With the exception of Shohei Ohtani, their starting pitcher with the lowest ERA was Patrick Sandoval with a 4.11 ERA. If they don't land a starting pitcher who can go a lot of innings and keep a low ERA and just overall pitch good, they're going to suffer throughout the season. The Angels starters pitched around 140 innings throughout the whole season, and they need to find some guys who can go 180, 200 innings somehow. It's easier said than done to find a starter who can go 200 innings in a season, but it's easier than find 3-4 bullpen guys who can clean up a mess from a starter every game. But long story short, if the Angels want to succeed in 2024, they're going to need to manage their money wisely and get some good starting pitching. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the MLB news, and thank you for watching, and until next time, see you later.